Most people think betrayal comes from strangers, but mine came from across the dinner table. My brother's pregnant wife looked me in the eye, in the house my father built, and told me to leave. Said the baby needed privacy. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just handed her the truth. See, the thing about family is, sometimes the people who say they love you most are the ones who'll test whether you love yourself at all. My name's Ethan. I'm 28. And this is how I lost and found my family. All in the same house. I never thought kindness could backfire this badly. My name's Ethan Cole. I'm 31. And for the past 5 years I've been living in the mountain cabin my late father built. When he passed, the cabin became ours. Mine and my brother Ryan's. Only Ryan didn't care for mountain life. He lived in the city, chasing startup dreams, and I stayed behind to take care of the property, the bills, the repairs, and honestly, the memories. Our dad left the cabin to both of us, to share and preserve. Ryan signed his half over to me later, saying, "You're the sentimental one, Ethan. I just want you to keep it alive." I paid him out fairly. There were papers, lawyers, witnesses, all official. So yes, the cabin was legally mine. Then came Lena, Ryan's fiancée. She was bright, confident, and so polished she made our rough wooden floors look like a sin. At first I liked her. She'd visit on weekends, call me Big Brother Ethan, and always bring pastries from some fancy bakery in Denver. But the moment their engagement got serious, something shifted. Her compliments turned into comments. "You really live here full-time? It's charming, but a little basic, don't you think?" I shrugged it off. City folks don't always get the quiet life. 2 months ago, Ryan called. "We've got news," he said, voice bubbling. "Come down for dinner. Big announcement." That night I drove the hour and a half into Denver, still smelling of pine and engine oil. At the table sat Ryan, Lena, and her parents. Crystal glasses, linen napkins. The kind of dinner that makes you check if your boots are clean enough to stay. After some champagne and chatter, Ryan raised his glass. "We're expecting," he said. The table erupted. Cheers, hugs, Lena's mother crying already. I was genuinely happy. Ryan had always wanted kids. Then, halfway through dessert, Lena put her fork down and smiled that smile she used when she was about to take charge of a meeting. "Actually," she said, "there's another piece of news. We've decided we'll be moving into the cabin for a while. To get out of the city before the baby comes. The mountain air will be perfect." I blinked. "Moving in?" Ryan nodded, excited. "Yeah, just until the baby's born. We'll help with chores, pay utilities. You'll hardly notice us." Lena added, "And after the baby arrives, Ethan can find a small apartment nearby. It'll give us space for the nursery." The words hit like a slap. Find a small apartment? In my home? I laughed awkwardly. "Wait, hold on. The cabin's mine, remember? You sold your half." Ryan waved a hand. Yeah, I remember, but come on, we're family. It's Dad's place. It's always been ours." Lena's smile sharpened. "Exactly. You can't just claim a family home for yourself when a new generation is coming, can you?" Her mother nodded vigorously. "A baby needs stability, dear. It's only fair." And suddenly everyone at that table was talking over each other. about how temporary it would be, how easy the adjustment would feel, how I was single and flexible. I sat there in disbelief, realizing none of them saw me as the owner, only as an obstacle between them and what they wanted. That night I barely slept. I kept replaying Lena's tone, polite, sugar-sweet, but laced with ownership. When Ryan texted the next morning, "Hope you're good with the plan, bro. We'll move up next weekend." I felt my stomach twist. I typed and deleted 3 replies before settling on, "Let's talk about it." But he never answered. They showed up that Saturday in a U-Haul. No warning. No call. Boxes labeled nursery, clothes, kitchen. Lena in leggings and sunglasses, directing movers like a general. Ryan grinning, oblivious. Surprise! We thought we'd get a head start. Inside, my living room looked like a warehouse. I stood there speechless as Lena measured walls, muttering about where to put the crib. "Lena," I said slowly, "you can't just move your stuff in. We haven't even talked." She didn't look up. "Ryan told me it's fine. We're family, right?" Ryan finally noticed my tone. "Come on, man, it's not a big deal. Just until the baby arrives." But when I opened the fridge later and found my shelves emptied for space, when Lena replaced Dad's worn recliner with a new beige couch that smelled like plastic, something in me cracked. That night I slept in the small guest room, my own bed already pushed aside to make room for a breastfeeding corner. The next morning, Lena found me in the kitchen. "Ethan," she said, pouring coffee like she owned the place. "You're great with tools, right? You could build us a deck for the stroller. Oh, and could you stay somewhere else during the baby shower? Too many guests." That was it. I walked outside, sat on the porch Dad built with his hands, and realized they weren't guests. I was. And I knew what had to come next. The next morning I woke to the sound of hammers. When I stepped outside, 2 contractors were bolting a temporary patio onto the porch. The same porch my dad built the summer before he died. Lena was standing there, clipboard in hand, wearing one of Ryan's flannel shirts like she was auditioning for Life in the Mountains. "Morning, Ethan. You'll love this. We're adding a small deck for the baby's stroller. You don't mind covering the labor cost until Ryan's next paycheck, right?" I just stared at her. Then I looked at Ryan. He shrugged. "It's just a few $100, man. You've always handled the bills." That was the moment it clicked. They hadn't forgotten whose house it was. They'd simply decided it didn't matter. That night I went down to the basement, opened Dad's old metal safe and took out the deed. My name, black on white. No joint ownership. No debate. I placed it on the kitchen table the next morning before breakfast. "We need to talk," I said. Ryan looked nervous. Lena didn't. "Ethan, please, not another lecture." "This isn't a lecture, it's the truth." I slid the deed across the table. "This house isn't ours. It's mine. You signed over your share 6 years ago. Paid. Legal. Recorded." Ryan blinked. Lena's fork froze mid-air. "That can't be right," she said quietly. "David, your dad, built this for his family." "He did," I said. "And then Ryan decided he didn't want it. He sold it to me." Silence. Then Lena laughed. A small, brittle sound. "You're not really going to make a pregnant woman move out, are you?" I met her eyes. "Not if she stops acting like she owns what she doesn't." Her expression hardened. "Unbelievable. You think a few papers mean anything compared to family?" Ryan stood. "Ethan, calm down. You're overreacting." "I'm not. You moved in without asking. changed my furniture, hired contractors, and now you're demanding I leave my own home. You're selfish, Lena snapped. You live here alone in all this space while we're starting a family. Then start your family somewhere else, I said. She gasped like I'd struck her. That ended breakfast. And, apparently, peace. 2 days later, I came home from work to find my key didn't fit. Cold air bit my face as I tried again. Nothing. From the second-floor window, Lena appeared. You're not welcome here until you learn some respect, she shouted. Where's Ryan? At work, she said. But he agrees with me. This is our home now. I laughed, one short, humorless sound. Okay. Then I walked back to my truck, opened the glove box, and pulled out my phone. Dad's lawyer was still in my contacts. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in my car outside my own house, watching the lights flicker behind those windows while the lawyer emailed me copies of the property registration and the ownership documents. Then, I dialed the non-emergency police line. Yes, I said calmly. I'm the owner of a private residence, and someone has changed my locks without permission. 2 cruisers arrived before sunset. I showed them the deed, the payment record, even the notarized transfer signed by Ryan. They knocked. Firm, steady. Lena answered, her voice suddenly trembling and soft, one hand on her stomach. He's lying. This is our family's home. He threatened me. The older officer glanced at me, then back at her. Ma'am, the documents show he's the legal owner. You can leave voluntarily, or we'll have to file trespassing. The mask dropped. You'll throw out a pregnant woman? She screamed. Do you have any idea how this looks? Ma'am, the officer said quietly. We've seen worse. She slammed the door. 10 minutes later, she came out dragging a suitcase, mascara streaked, fury in her eyes. Ryan pulled up just in time to see it happen. To see the officer holding the deed and Lena shouting about betrayal. He didn't say a word to me, just took her bags, helped her into the car, and drove away. That night the house was quiet again. Too quiet. The crib sat half-assembled in the corner. The new beige couch smelled like plastic and regret. For the first time in years, I locked the door behind me and realized I wasn't locking anyone out. I was finally keeping myself safe. For the first 2 days, I didn't hear a thing. No calls, no texts, no truck pulling into the drive. Just the wind scratching at the window panes and the steady tick of the clock my father once wound by hand. By the 3rd day, my phone finally buzzed. Ryan. I almost didn't answer. But guilt has a way of picking up for you. What the hell did you do? He snapped before I could speak. You called the cops on us, on Lena. She's pregnant, Ethan. Do you realize how that looks? I took a long breath. I didn't call the cops on you. I called them on someone who broke into my house and changed my locks. He let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Oh, come on. Paperwork doesn't make it yours. Dad built that place for the family. And you sold your half, remember? Silence crackled through the line. Then, softer, almost pleading. You could have handled it privately. You embarrassed her. You embarrassed me. She embarrassed herself, I said quietly. And she used you to do it. Ryan's voice wavered. You sound just like Dad when he kicked me out at 18. That landed like a punch. I remembered that night, Ryan screaming, Dad's hands trembling with fury and love tangled together. I was 15 then, and now I'd become the man behind the door, I didn't want this, I said. Then fix it, he snapped, and hung up. 2 nights later, Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda showed up. They were my mother's siblings, the kind of relatives who only call when tragedy's already happened. They brought casserole and judgment in equal measure. You could have handled it better, Aunt Linda said between bites. Family's complicated, Uncle Mark added. Sometimes you take the hit to keep the peace. I've been taking hits for 5 years, I said. It doesn't make peace. It just teaches people I'll never hit back. Neither of them answered. They just exchanged that pitying look people give when they realize you've stopped playing the family game. The next morning, a small envelope sat on my porch. No name, just my brother's handwriting on the flap. Inside was a single line. You chose a house over your family. For a long time, I just stared at it. Then I turned it over and wrote back on the same paper. I chose boundaries over abuse. I didn't mail it. I pinned it to the fridge. A reminder that love without respect isn't love, it's leverage. I won't lie. I missed him. The house echoed differently without his laugh bouncing off the beams, without 2 coffee cups in the sink instead of 1. Even the silence had a shape that looked like him. Some nights I'd catch myself setting an extra plate at dinner before realizing there was no one left to feed. That's the part people don't tell you about setting boundaries. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like mourning. But mourning is still better than madness. The line that broke. A week later, my Uncle David called. Ryan's been telling everyone you threw them out because of the baby, he said. They're saying you wanted the place to yourself. That's not true. I know, he sighed. But people believe what fits the story they need. That night I walked out to the porch, sat where Dad used to smoke his pipe, and stared at the ridge where the pines turned black against the stars. I tried to imagine what he'd say. Probably something simple like, you did what you had to. He'd always believed peace wasn't something you begged for, it's something you protect. So that's what I did. 2 months passed before I saw Ryan again. Early one Sunday morning, a silver SUV pulled into the gravel drive. He got out alone. No wedding ring, no suitcase. Just him. He looked older. Like sleepless nights had carved lines where laughter used to be. I opened the door before he could knock. "Can we talk?" he asked. We sat on the porch, same as we did when we were kids sneaking beers behind Dad's back. Only now the silence between us wasn't friendly. It was heavy. "She left," he said finally. "Took the baby, moved in with her parents." I waited. He stared at his hands. "She told everyone I let her down, that I chose you over her. But the truth is, I didn't choose anything. I just kept avoiding the fight until there was nothing left to defend." He gave a bitter laugh. "Guess cowardice runs in the family." "No," I said quietly. "It ends here." I went inside and came back with an envelope, a copy of the deed and a small check. "Half the value of the house. I don't owe you this, but I don't want it between us anymore." He shook his head. "I don't want your money." "Then take the message," I said. "You can't build a family on entitlement or silence." For the first time since all of it began, he looked me in the eye. "I'm sorry, Ethan." I nodded. It wasn't enough, but it was something. 3 weeks later, Aunt Linda sent a photo through text. A newborn wrapped in a pink blanket. Clara, Ryan's daughter, my niece. I stared at that tiny face for a long time. She looked nothing like Lena, thank God, but she had my brother's eyes. Eyes that one day would learn what kind of men raised her. I wrote Ryan a message. Tell Clara her uncle says hi. No response. Didn't matter. Some things take time. Others take peace. Life moved forward the way snow melts, quietly, until one day you realize the road's clear again. I fixed the deck Lena had started, finished it myself, and carved my father's initials into the post. The house felt like home again. Not because it was empty, but because it was mine. Uncle David and Aunt Rachel visit sometimes. They still call it the family cabin, and I don't correct them anymore. I know what it really is. It's the line where I stopped letting guilt rent space in my chest. Because here's the truth I learned the hard way. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who respects your boundaries. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Being forgiving doesn't mean letting people live rent-free in your peace. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is close the door.